Hey now! What is up, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka Review King MB, and this is Smallville Rewind. This episode is titled Visage or Visage. For some reason, that's how I want to say it. So, at the beginning of this episode, we see Clark Kent, of course, with Lana Lang, at the Talon, and he's helping her with her plumbing issues. Stop me if you've seen other scenes of other things start out this way. And because the plumbing is all over the place, water squirting like crazy. Clark's trying to control it. I'm sitting here going like, Clark, I'm sure you're stronger than you're letting on here. I know it's in front of Lana, but water's getting everywhere. His shirt is getting drenched. She runs out to go get like a towel or something, and then he is able to like heat vision the pipes to stop the water. She comes in and she can't believe that he stopped the water, and then she stops and looks at him, and Clark Kent has a wet t-shirt on. And I'm like, God damn, guys, we could not wait to get Tom Welling looking wet and looking hot for Lana. And it's one of the few times, it's not the only time. I think there was one other time where Lana saw Clark shirtless, or he was in the swimming pool and she was checking him out. But it's not often that Lana is checking Clark out like physically, because it's usually Clark who's flustered staring at her. So I just found all of that very funny. And then we find out that Lana actually got her kryptonite necklace back from Whitney a while back, and she takes it out, and of course it's getting Clark sick, and so I'm like, oh no, we're gonna go back to that, right? Lana still hasn't heard from Whitney, so she's kind of going back and forth with that. We cut to a scene of Whitney over there in the war. Him and the soldiers are being attacked, they're being bombed, and it's a cool scene of Whitney like trying to save one of his injured guys, and they're trying to get away, and there's bombs going off. It's shot very differently, the color correction, and it looked like a completely different show at that point. In fact, didn't CW do a military base type show, or a show about soldiers in the middle of a war? So this bomb goes off right in front of Whitney, and you kind of sitting there going like, oh shit, what's going on? Cut to Clark and Lana back in the school, and Clark is asking Lana to go with him to this like formal type situation, and Lana's not really sure because she's feeling guilty over Whitney and what might have happened to him. And Clark convinces her. He's like, hey, it's no use in just staying all cooped up alone. It's not going to change anything. You might as well try to get your mind off of it. Lana actually says, you know what, Clark, you're right. I'm going to go with you. Until you look over and look who's coming down the hall of the school. It's Whitney in full, like, Marine uniform. He's returned home. He looks like a hero, the American hero. He looks like the star of the Tom Cruise movie that Clark is clearly not a part of, because Lana, tunnel vision, the way how this is shot, where the camera just focuses in on Lana, almost everything else around her disappears. She's staring at Whitney. She can't believe it. She runs towards him, drops her books, and hugs him. Oh my God, I can't believe you're here. You're alive. You're safe. And Clark is just sitting there looking like an asshole. I actually felt bad for Clark a little bit. I thought he was going to pick up her books, and I said, Clark, don't you dare pick up those books. Walk away, Clark. Walk away now. And he did just that. He did walk away. And then you see Clark talking to Jonathan and Martha, and this is why I love the scenes of Clark with his parents, is because he's able to talk to them about his true feelings. He doesn't have to hide how he's feeling, right? They know everything, his powers and everything, but even something as simple as his situation with Lana. He can talk to them and say, I know this is messed up. I know I shouldn't be feeling this way because Whitney just came back, but I feel jealous. Things with Lana and him were just getting better, he says. And just as that happens, Whitney comes back, and it's right back to season one, basically all over again. And I like that they don't make him feel guilty about it. I like that they say, well, didn't Lana break up with him? Like, you don't have too much to worry about, which is a good point. I almost forgot about that whole deal with Lana making the video saying she was breaking up with Whitney, and then we never saw Whitney's reaction to it. In fact, we cut to Whitney and Lana at his home with his mom. His mom, of course, is like baking cookies, welcoming him back. And Whitney goes to kiss Lana, and Lana's like, whoa. She turns away, and Whitney doesn't know what's wrong. He's like, what's going on? And she tries to say, well, didn't you get the video? He says that he doesn't remember. And he says because of the attack on his soldiers, the bombing, he doesn't remember much. He lost some weeks of memory, which is believable, especially on this show. People lose their memory all the goddamn time. So the idea that in Whitney's head, he's still with her or everything's fine is a really messed up situation for Lana to find herself in. At the Talon, I think it's Whitney's welcoming home type party, and Clark is talking to Lana. Clark actually reassures Lana that, like, hey, it's okay. If you don't want to go to the thing anymore, I get it. Whitney's here. It's complicated. It's fine. And Lana's actually, like, glad that Clark's not making her feel bad for it. And then Whitney shows up and says, what's going on here? Huh? What? Of course, back to jealous Whitney. I thought we got past this. I thought Whitney and Clark came to an understanding. I thought they were cool. But Whitney, I guess, lost that much of his memory too. So he's being super sketchy and jealous. He goes off to the bathroom and he's angry and he's like freaking out. It's almost like Patrick Bateman, American Psycho, just water in his face, and he's just like, "Ooh, Clark, I'm gonna hurt him." And then he like throws a piece of the bathroom stall. Clark comes in, sees all of this, and goes, "Whoa, Whitney, what's going on here?" Whitney accuses Clark of trying to get with Lana. I'm glad Clark brought up that, like, no, you told me to watch out for her, watch over her, protect her, and I did that for you, and it's platonic. Whitney calls bullshit, and then Clark questions, how did Whitney just do that with the stall? Like, where'd you get the strength from? And Whitney tried to say that, oh, he's well trained, so there's a lot of things he can do. Clark's like, I don't know if the military trained you to be super strong. Then Clark goes to Lana to talk about this incident. And Lana, I'm sorry, I try to always see Lana's point of view. I'm always giving Lana the benefit of the doubt, and I'm always trying to see things from how she might be seeing them, or Clark keeping secrets from her, so she is going to be a little more defensive than the audience. But when she hears what Clark says, and granted, I guess Whitney told her the opposite, but she's quick to say, how dare you, Clark, accuse Whitney of that. How dare you, Clark, lie about Whitney. And it's like, oh, fucking, okay. I get that Whitney told you one thing first, but we've been through this. In fact, it was just a couple episodes ago where Lana and Chloe and Clark came to a promise that we would not treat Clark like the jealous ex-boyfriend ever again. They promised. They said, hey, we're friends. Clark has come through for Lana. He's proven more than a bunch of times that he doesn't just lie and make up shit. Other than Red Kryptonite episodes, he's not going to do that. So, goddamn it, Lana, like, just fucking talk to him. Or just be a little more... There should have been something where she hears Clark out and she says, okay, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe there is something going on. But just, for now, let me handle Whitney. Let me talk to him. He's clearly emotional. He's clearly going through something, and maybe seeing you around me is too much for him right now. So just for now, just for the next couple days, let's cool it. Let's take some time, and I'll come to you when I've dealt with Whitney. Make her seem likable, and you could still accomplish the same thing of like they're gonna be pushed away a little bit. I mean, come on, writers, it can't be that hard. They're so quick to make Lana unlikable. It's no wonder why there is a section of fans who don't like Lana, because she does come across as bipolar a little bit. So then this military guy shows up at Whitney's house, and he's about to talk to Whitney's mother to tell her something important. But before he finishes, like he says, like he has news for her, and she goes, "Oh, is it about Whitney?" And he goes, "What?" And then Whitney comes downstairs and says, "Oh, hello." And the other guy's like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "This is impossible because, ma'am." And then Whitney bashes this military guy's brains in with a baseball bat. I mean, you don't see what happens to the guy in his face, but you see the blood squirt. You see the mother screaming bloody murder, horrified. Her screams were just blood splashing on her. I'm like, this is fucking crazy, and so sudden and so abrupt and so fast. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then you see him like grab at the mother, so you're like, holy shit, did he just kill his mother? No, he's interrogating his mother for answers. He's like, "What's my favorite radio station?" Huh? What's he, Ghostface now? He's like, "Lana needs to know that nothing's up when I turn the radio on." And you're kind of like, "What the fuck?" And she's trying to like figure it out, and then the doorbell rings. It's Clark, and Clark is wanting to talk to Whitney again. But Whitney, once again, is like, "Fuck you, Clark." But as and he shoves Clark down. Now, as he goes back in, Clark uses X-ray vision, and he sees that Whitney has kryptonite-laced bones. And the last time we saw somebody with kryptonite-laced bones was Tina Greer. Now, I'll be honest and say that I remembered this episode. I remembered that Tina Greer comes back and pretends to be Whitney. But there was a few things like fake Whitney killing the military guy, tying up the mother, freaking out in the bathroom. There were certain scenes that I didn't remember, and so it was great to rewatch and see how we get to that conclusion, that revelation. Clark takes this theory, goes to Chloe and Pete, and says that he thinks Whitney's really Tina. And Chloe's like, "Well, that's impossible because Tina committed suicide." And you're like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, here's this paper that we're writing because she was at the hospital, and then she wrote something saying she couldn't take it anymore. She killed herself by like burning up her body or some shit." And Clark is like listening to this, and he's like, "Did they check the dental records of the body?" And Chloe's like, "Oh, fuck." So then they realize that no, Tina burned somebody else's body, escaped the hospital, and she is, in fact, pretending to be Whitney. We see Whitney turn into Tina, and we're like, "Hey, Lizzie Kaplan, it's great to see you." And so you see that, yeah, I guess Tina Greer is back. She found an angle to try to get back with Lana, which is always funny, though. Because the first episode, she clearly was more obsessed with Lana in a friendship way or even a sisterly way. She made it seem like she wants to be like her sister. And then when Lana rejects her, she gets angry and tries to kill her. And they address that, like, oh, that was a mistake that she tried to kill her, that she actually is in love with her. So I don't know if this is something that while she was away in the hospital, she sort of realized that it's actually like romantic feelings she had for her. They don't really explain the change in Tina's feelings or the escalation. And it does suck. My biggest complaint about this is that we don't get enough Tina Greer. We don't get enough Lizzie Kaplan specifically. Like, there's a lot of Whitney, And I don't mind the actor that plays Whitney. Like, it's cool to see him back, especially for the last time. This is the last time we see the Whitney character in a substantial way. And so I appreciated that for that reason, some sort of closure with him. But the fact that it's not really him, and that it's really Tina. I wish we got more of Tina and like Lizzie Kaplan specifically acting out Tina's motivations, getting to have more dialogue of like maybe they just feel like the character is very one dimensional, so there's not much more to explore and explain. But I definitely feel like whether this needed a two-parter or just more scenes specifically of Tina doing what she's doing. For example, we see that there's a scene where Clark tries to tell Lana about Tina. And Lana has a face where she's like, this is fucking unbelievable. And I will admit, that would be the first time where I can understand Lana being a little like, what? Because it is a far-fetched theory. It is far-fetched and out there. We haven't heard about Tina in a while. So Lana might think it's crazy. Also, she's glad that Whitney's back, in theory. But Clark says, stay here with Pete, and I'm going to go check out the Whitney situation. And then when Clark leaves, Lana says, I'm leaving. Pete tries to talk to her. And Lana turns around and kicks the fuck out of Pete, knocks him out, throws him into the locker. He hits his head. I'm like, huh? Come to find out that was Tina pretending to be Lana. So that was actually a good fake out. That was something I did not see coming there. And then you get Whitney proposing to Lana. Now, I don't know why Tina thought that would work. Oh, yeah, let's just propose. Because actually, I think Whitney asked Lana if she would move in with him, and she said no. So I guess now Tina thinks, well, proposing, maybe that's her hang up. Maybe that's why she doesn't want to move in, is because we have to take our relationship to the next level. Lana, once again, turns him down. And then after turning him down, Whitney asks for the kryptonite necklace back. And Lana gives it to him. Because Tina knows Clark's secrets. Tina knows that Clark is weak from the kryptonite. And so she's going to use this. Now, the scene when Clark goes to Jonathan in the barn and Jonathan is revealed to be Tina with the kryptonite necklace, that was kind of like, okay, yeah. Tina, like, pre-thought of, like, I'm going to pretend to be Jonathan. I'm going to pretend to be working on this truck. And she waited until Clark showed up. Like, it's just, it seemed more of a reveal, surprising reveal for the audience, more so than how does that make sense. But so she now ties Clark up, leaves him in the basement, does her whole speech. But again, not enough Lizzie Kaplan. I mean, you see her for like a second wearing this big overcoat that was supposed to fit Jonathan. That looked hilarious. But then she turns into Clark. And so you see now Clark as Tina saying that she's going to go after Lana as Clark because Clark's probably the one that Lana wants to be with. And so she leaves. And later, Clark's spaceship actually, like, by itself activates, turns on, drains the kryptonite from the necklace that was holding Clark weak there. Now, I don't know how that happened or why that happened, or the spaceship just has a conscience of its own. I mean, I know it turned on and activated during the storm, but this just was like, it could do that? So Clark is now free. Tina, as Clark, goes to the Talon. She confesses her love to Lana as Clark, actually kisses Lana as Clark. And so technically Tina got to kiss Lana. I forgot to mention, there was a scene where Lana was in the shower and Tina was in her room, like sniffing her clothes. I don't think she was sniffing her underwear, but that was wild. I'm sitting here watching this like, what the fuck? And then when Lana comes in, Tina makes herself look like Chloe. And so it's a creepy moment of Allison Mack as Chloe having to tell Lana that, like, oh, you want to be with Clark, because she's planning on pretending to be Clark later. And then so as Lana's like with her back turned in the closet, Chloe goes up to her and starts like sniffing her hair. And Lana's like, what the fuck? And Chloe's like, oh, sorry, just couldn't help myself. And I don't know if Lana ever found out that wasn't really Chloe, so Lana might just think that her roommate Chloe is weird or has the hots for her too. So then, okay, cut to later. Clark and Lana are kissing. The real Clark shows up, and Lana's looking at the other Clark and looking at the Clark she just kissed. She's like, what the fuck? And they're both like, that's not really Clark. And then the real Clark talks about how I was helping you with the pipes. And she goes, ah, all right. So then Tina, as Clark, throws Lana up against the wall. She hits her head, of course, knocked out. And then Clark versus Clark happens in like the alley outside. And it's a cool little fight. Once again, I wish we saw Lizzie Kaplan. Like, she should have turned into Tina here, and you could have saw the two of them fight. But I guess they wanted to have Clark versus Clark. I mean, we get plenty of Clark versus Clark much later on, so I didn't really feel like we needed this. I once again wish we had more Lizzie Kaplan. But the scene where Tom Welling as Tina had to act out, "Why won't you die?" was pretty hilarious. She accidentally impales herself and dies. So Tina Greer is dead. It sucks that this was an interesting character, or potentially interesting character, that just killed off, and I don't think they did enough with her. Her last words were like, protect Lana or keep her safe, whatever. And so there you go. And there's a side plot of Lex. So Lex was having his father followed, and he got pictures of Helen, the doctor that he had been dating, who we haven't seen in a few episodes. And she was sitting with Lionel talking about whatever. So Lex confronts her and says, what's up with these pictures? Like, why were you meeting with him? I checked your bank accounts and you got paid by him like $100,000. And she gets so defensive. She gets so angry and says, you had me followed? You looked into me? How dare you, Lex? Fuck you, it's over. And she just walks away. And I'm like, okay, first of all, bitch, if he just looked into you on his own, like, and looked into your finances on his own without any reason, sure. But he saw these pictures and then looked into you and then saw something suspicious. You can't blame Lex. She didn't even try to like defend it, or didn't even try to give a reason. If she gave a reason, or if she said, Lex, I know it looks bad, but this is what's really going on, and Lex cut her off and said, I don't care, bitch. Or if he's like, I don't care, I don't want to hear it, I've heard this a bunch of times from plenty of women, you're no different. And then she's like, oh yeah, well then fuck off. Like, if she tried to genuinely explain herself and Lex said fuck you, then she had a right to be mad. But she was so quick to get mad right off the bat. And then Lex talks to Clark, and Clark kind of makes Lex feel guilty, like he did something wrong. So now Lex is like chasing her around, apologizing for it, and they get back together at the end. But I just was like, I didn't care for that. We haven't even seen them dating, so maybe that's also why. It's like, well, how much closer have they gotten for her to get so offended that he accused her of it? The very last thing that I want to talk about is the very last scene where Clark is in the caves and Lana shows up. Now, granted, you're almost like, how did Lana find? I know she said that she went to his house and Martha said he was at the caves, but like, these were caves that was supposedly hard to find, right? That the Indian girl couldn't find the caves and the paintings, but Lana just walks in like nothing. But I did like this because originally Lana wanted to be alone. She hadn't talked to Clark, but she came in and she gave Kristen great acting here. She starts crying, and she basically admits that she effed up by not believing Clark again. And she said that everyone that she loves leaves her, her parents, Aunt Nell, now Whitney, and because they find out that Whitney did die in combat, and so she starts to cry. She says to Clark, I don't want you to leave me too. You've been the one constant person there for me. I know you have secrets, but everything else outweighs that. And she hugs him, and I'm like, man, this is really, like, you really got to see where Lana's coming from in that one scene. At least her acting really made me feel bad for her. If I did become annoyed of her earlier, this turned it back around to where I'm like, man, Lana's been through some shit in just less than 2 seasons. So guys, yeah, I enjoyed this episode. I thought there was a lot of cool stuff in it. Not perfect, not great. There were, I wish we got more Lizzie Kaplan in the long run, but I thought it ended off very strong. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of Visage? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later.